All right, we're waiting patiently for YouTube Studio to tell me we're live. So, first of all, welcome to the channel and thank you for stopping by. We're going to be doing what I do every week and a half, it looks like now, which is commenting or replying to comments and then chatting with whomever shows up. I don't plan these. They're not on any particular day. They're not on any particular time. They're just, I'm in the office and I might as well use my time productively to answer the kind folks that are incredibly generous to comment on my videos. So let's take a look at what we have today. And I've got a mint in my mouth. I eat these nonstop. So if you hear me chewing on something, it's probably that. Okay. East Tennessee forest riding with Patrick from Moto Ramblings. He's not just a bot. This is Verbal Widget. Great to see you two crazy dirt bike hooligans together again. Neither one of us is a hooligan anymore. Great advice, Frank. It should be about the ride and not the fastest or slowest. Everyone needs to ride their pace and have a good time without the thoughts of I'm riding too fast or riding too slow. What Dave is commenting on there is Patrick had said to me, and I think this was our first day actually going on something with ruts and hills and rocks. And Patrick has this opinion that either I ride fast or he rides slow. I'm not sure which, but he had commented, if I'm slowing you down, let me know. And I went on a bit of a rant in the video that, you know, if I'm not willing to ride the speed someone else is willing to ride, I won't ride with them, and suggest that everyone else do the same. If you're there to have fun, it doesn't matter how fast you go. And if you find, hey, today is a day that I really want to go out there and I want to hit the trail hard, or I want to hit the corners tight and I want to ride aggressively, just ride by yourself. Don't invite anyone else to go with you. And certainly don't take an invitation from someone. All right. Reply. Thanks, Dave. Next is from that Moto Ramblings Patrick guy himself. I know he does seem like a bot. He makes like 800 small little comments, but I guess he just really puts that amount of time in. If someone were to complain about my riding, I would not ride with them again, but that hasn't happened yet. I also have not complained about riding. Excuse me. I also have not complained about others riding either. I can say that I haven't heard of Patrick complaining about anyone's riding, but honestly, with how few people Patrick's willing to ride with, I mean, he's so antisocial, there's just not enough people around for him to complain about their riding. We're just going to give him a high bot, not a hoy bot. If this is your first time, you're going to notice I can't spell to save my life. Not while typing anyway. Okay, comment on a Black Hills, South Dakota short. I am incredibly happy that my Black Hills shorts are doing well. Not because it's a lot of views or anything is great is going to happen, but just South Dakota is my favorite place in the world, and I hope all of these people have a chance to go see it. All right. More for the Tennessee. Actually, there'll probably be several comments on the Tennessee video with Patrick because that was today. I completely forgot it came out today. From Parallel Camper, our favorite, ride your own ride is always good advice. And if it's not fun, why are you doing it? Thanks for the video. Now, I will say that I have absolutely been invited on rides that I had hoped would go one way or the other, and they went a different way. Now, if the people had been riding more aggressively than I was willing to, I probably would have bowed out graciously. But I'll admit I have stayed on rides I wasn't having a really great time because that person was courteous enough to invite me, and perhaps I didn't ask enough questions ahead of time. So, quick aside there. If someone invites you on a ride, absolutely positively know where you're going, for how long you're going, and how they plan to ride that trail. Because I've been out with people that are amazing riders, and what they do is relax and have a slow day. And I've been out with riders that are mid at best and they ride hard. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to be here when you kill yourself, bro. So definitely ask them how they're going to ride. We're just going to give him a hello, Rob. Rob knows he's the best. More from that bot Moto Ramblings. I mean, you get like 6 of these every video. It's got to be a bot. Hey, Rob, you're exactly right. I have a ton of fun at the speeds I go, maybe faster than some, slower than others. I don't want my pace to push others out of their comfort zone, nor do I want to hinder another enjoying the ride at their pace. Sound advice, Patrick. Then we have a reply from Verbal Widget. Great advice, Rob. Such an important message Frank brought up, and it's not said enough. You know, it's the most basic of things. Ride your own ride. The problem is we all want to be the guy that adds to the experience. We don't want to be the guy that takes away from the experience. And I have absolutely been on street rides where I was not riding my own ride, where I don't want to be the guy holding all these people up, especially if you're riding with a regular group and you're just stopping in. By all means, pay attention to what you're doing, because sometimes we don't want to be the odd man out, and we don't ride our own ride anymore. We ride the ride of the group, and that's probably not a good thing. We're just gonna say thanks, guys. Thanks as always. Hopefully Rob will look at this because I hate to shortchange him. All right, 2 more on South Dakota here. From Rat Razor. I never knew ferrets were a native animal. I've only seen them in captivity. And from Tat Anaka White Plum 6038. Whew. He doesn't live far from there. This is not really the Black Hills. This was on my trip to the Badlands National Park. And one of the wildest things when you're going from the Black Hills out to the Badlands National Park is seeing that there are fields just a mile deep and miles wide. And you see all these little openings, all these little holes. And if you stop or if you look long enough, you're just going to see little heads pop up, and you're going to see them, prairie dogs, run from one hole to another. There are so many of them. I couldn't believe when I got out there that there were so many prairie dogs. They're just adorable, though. Okay. I did comment on this video that I have ridden with several guys who own a V-Strom 1000 or a V-Strom 650 and said it's such an impressive bike. The fact that it was designed 20 plus years ago and people still hop on them today and go across the country. And Jason from Moto Photo Adventures comments, my 2011 V-Strom Zebra did pretty good across the Trans-America Trail. And if you ever have a chance, pop over to Moto Photo Adventures and look for their Trans-America Trail series. They have so many great videos showing literally the entire trail across the country, meeting lots of different people, and seeing Steve Ruse save the day by lifting up bikes that have fallen more than once or twice. And I often joke with my friend Dave that his Africa Twin Adventure Sport is, well, it's a big giant scooter. He's got a DCT transmission, and I really shouldn't do that because Steve is on a DCT Africa Twin and he just crushes the Trans-American Trail like it's nothing. It's just amazing. That bike really performs. We're just going to give Jason, and indeed it does, or indeed it did, Jason. This would go so much faster if I could type. Couple of replies to him. Patrick, yes, sir, you're a great rider. Love my... we don't have to listen to Patrick. Jason saying he falls down a lot. And I don't think he does. I've ridden with Jason a bit. I've never seen him drop his bike. And even on the Transamerica Trail, I think he shows on video that he drops it twice. And I think most of us would have dropped our bikes there. All right. Another one on today's video from Traveling Outside the Bats. There's something about simple bikes. I could not imagine myself on any other bike than my Himalayan. I can definitely see that as a person who has had electrical problems on his KTM. I can absolutely see the allure of one of the bikes designed either 20, 25 years ago, like the V-Strom, the KLR designed 35 years ago plus, or something like the Royal Enfield that's designed to be less complex. When I was at the AIM Expo and I got the chance to look at many of the I was about to say Resident Evil, the video game, Royal Enfields. I played too many video games, too much Resident Evil in my youth. Now RE makes me think of that. So when I had an opportunity to see many of the Royal Enfields, it was shocking how simple they are compared to every other bike that was at the show. And there's something to be said for that because they're not going to have as many electronic failures. Patrick, that bot is still here liking his V-Strom. Oh, Traveling Outside the Bats added maybe just a little because he's vertically challenged. Yeah, the Royal Enfield folks do make bikes with a lower seat height, which is awesome. All right, we have a comment here on what's fast becoming my most popular, or we'll just say my most viewed video, which is for the Rhino Walk rackless luggage, which is what I use on my 790 Adventure. This is from Shad W. Wolf. I've just come across your video after purchasing today the Rhino Walk motorcycle quick release rack bags. Although obviously not the same bags, I'd suggest having a look at the Rhino Walk saddle mount for the bags. Side note, considering Moscow Moto bags as well as the mentioned Nelson Rig bags are the closest premium to these, I could most certainly agree that they are the best value for a budget moto bag, and I'd even be inclined to say a great bigger moto bag for new riders looking for the travel and camp, considering how universal fit they'll go on most bikes. Okay, I may not have done that justice, but he's saying that there are some side bags, some standard panniers for or by Rhino Walk. I saw them start appearing last year. I haven't seen them out in the wild yet. I'd really like to. They look to be fairly heavily made, but I do already have my Nelson Rig Hurricane, so I'm not really looking for a mounting bag, a pannier that's waterproof right now. The reason I use the Rhino Walk is because I don't need to have any kind of mounting. I can just strap it to the bike. And on a heavier bike, I don't really want to have racks. So it's very helpful. Oh man, I thought we had somebody viewing, but it's just that bot Moto Ramblings. Hey Patrick, how are you, man? Right. Okay, commenting on the Battleaxe Adventure Cross X41 tire review. Which reminds me, now that I am literally down to a couple of millimeters on these AX41s, I need to do another review. But TSEO7 My, gonna be buying a set of these for my DRZ 400S. Tired of literally melting off front tire knobbies at interstate speeds, but still need something that can handle dirt from time to time. Well, TS, the AX41 will absolutely handle everything you throw at it and have a relatively decent amount of longevity. Fair warning, the rear tire will probably max out around 4,000 4,000 miles. The DRZ 400S is going to have just about the same horsepower as my 390 does. And I'm finding that the combination of dirt and pavement, 4,000 was stretching it. At that point, it's no longer really a mud tire. It's now a gravel and a dirt tire. So depending on how hard you ride, it might only be a 3,500 mile tire. But the front, you're going to get plenty of longevity, and it's simply amazing on mud, dirt, sand, pavement. It's fantastic. Oh, hey, Patrick. Patrick says, well, he's well. Thank you. Looking forward to riding with you again soon, my friend. With any luck, Patrick and I will be riding on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd on the Chattahoochee. He's surprisingly invited an extra Dave. We already had a Dave that was riding with us, and he's added a second Dave. So it's going to be very interesting. Have you warned Dave about Dave, Patrick? All right. And Black Hills, South Dakota. Verbal widget ride, what bike? Nobody knows when you get a t-shirt. And that's because in the video I was going through Deadwood and Sturgis, and I'm like, I'd stop in and get a t-shirt because even though it was off season and the rally wasn't being held, they had the rally t-shirts there, but it would just feel wrong to get the t-shirt without actually having attended the rally. All right, we're back to our bot, Patrick. Patrick says, in regards to the ride we took, I was not worried about being too slow. I have my pace and it's fun for me. I also know that others might be slower and others might be faster. And although I will enjoy the ride at my pace, I think it's, wow, Patrick, this is really long. I'm just going to like move on. No, Patrick's awesome. And I did think that he was worried about me wanting to ride faster, but I'm glad he cleared it up that he wasn't. A couple more comments here on the nice folks referring to the Black Hills, South Dakota. We've got Parallel Camper. He can't think of anything to Parallel Camper. I can't think of anything witty to say about you and the ferrets. Rob, I'm just glad that you had anything to say, and that was witty enough. Corrupt Man, you passed the car, laughing my FO. I will admit, I sometimes pass cars and I sometimes don't. This was my first trip to South Dakota, and I wasn't sure what kind of law enforcement is out there. I didn't pass the car. I just complained about it. Okay. And here, this is one I did pass. Double solid yellow equals no passing. Dotted on your side, good to pass. Bro was even being nice and giving you extra space to pass. Where did you get your license? You know, sometimes I don't pass when I should. What can I say? I was rambling off on the camera. You can't please everybody. Here's Kiermer. Wow, I cannot pronounce this. KERMIETHEYEETER. Wow, that's a long one. And he thought I was driving to the Overlook Hotel above, I think, Deadwood, which we finally did get there last year. All right. Santa giving you the space for a Goldwing. Just twist the wrist a little. I'm getting a lot of criticisms for not passing when I had the opportunity to. And I'll just say, it's distracting talking to the camera at times. Not always, but sometimes, and Patrick can back me up. When you are moto vlogging or whatever you want to call it, you're not giving 100% to riding. And I know that's a problem. It's a mistake, but so is listening to the radio in your car. But my point is, I'm not always thinking about passing. I'm not always thinking about aggressive riding when I have the camera on. I would say I always ride slower with the camera on. I always pass more careful. Well, I usually pass more carefully. Hey, Zach's in the chat. ADV Zach, how are you, buddy? I just have Patrick here hanging out. I think he might be real. Wow, this is a really surprising one. Vin324, I want his job. This is in regards to my Carlsbad jacket, which I mentioned at least twice during the video is the most expensive piece of gear I own. And I find it worth the money, but really pricey. And Vin says, it's just money, dude. And you know, you could take that in the best possible way. And it is just money, which when it comes to your personal safety, spend a little more. Yeah, so Motor Ramblings is saying that recording and aggressive riding do not go well together. And I absolutely agree with that. Oh, Zach is a truck driver and he is hanging out in a parking lot tonight. Well, I was going to ask both of you if you had gotten a chance to ride today, but I'm going to assume that Zach didn't if he's already parked up for the night. Oh, riding the thin lines. Roger is here. Roger, you haven't missed much. I start these out just answering all the comments that the incredible gracious people leave. And Patrick left a lot of them. I mean, I think that 10% or maybe 25% of the comments I've gone so far are Patrick. So Patrick, thank you very much. So Patrick, did you ride today? I know you went to the park. You were hanging around the park, but did you get on the bike at all? Let's take a look. Oh, wow. It's getting even worse. People are really upset about me not passing. You're causing the traffic you're referring to by not going around. You know, that's entirely possible. I could very well be. Oh, but then someone says double yellow means no passing. He's not causing traffic. There's a person in front of him going slow. Someone respects the law, and everyone in the comments is like, what the fuck? Thanks, I appreciate that. So there's one person who was kind enough to say the jerk should, or the fellow should not have been passing anyway. But I do seem to have offended about a half a dozen people by not passing on a double yellow line. But then I also earlier offended someone by not passing on the dotted line. So, whew, I had a bad day out there. Maybe I should delete those shorts. So Patrick didn't get a chance to ride. Riding the thin lines, Roger says, a dangerous day to ride. Why is that, Roger? I mean, Patrick wasn't on the road with that giant sofa of his, so it should have been safer. Oh, it got ugly here for a bit today. Bad weather, guys? We have had 8 days of rain here in upstate New York, and today was the very first day it wasn't raining in the morning. So I went over and took care of some minor maintenance on the 390. Then I washed it. Thank you, St. Greg. St. Greg of the washed bike of the bearded grump. I actually washed the bike today because I had to give up and admit that all of the mud on the shock from my ride with Patrick a few weeks ago was never coming out without a pressure wash. So my 390, which never gets washed, was actually washed today. And then because I washed it, I had to go and maintain the chain. Yeah, Patrick says they had bad weather. They're both, Patrick and Roger riding the thin lines, are in Asheville area. I believe the Asheville area of North Carolina. All right. Wow. There's some salty comments here that we're not going to even say anything about because it's people being either upset with me or upset with the people not upset with me or the upset with the people upset with me. That's just a bad thread. We're going to skip over that. I do appreciate everyone's comments and try to keep it PG, guys. Quick question about the AS Max S1 from Just Digit 2. When music sharing, will it mute audio when talking? Does it cut out? I don't ever do music sharing, so I'm not sure. The music will pause when voice is coming over, though. It does detect if I'm playing music off of my phone and I'm talking back and forth. I don't think it pauses so much as goes down so low that you can't really hear it. So it doesn't talk over your speaking. It's really convenient. Okay. Wow. Okay. Patrick says they're just north of Asheville. All I know about where Patrick lives is that he's an hour from my place in Tennessee, and there's pretty good places to eat between us. Now, this next comment is an old video. It's probably the biggest waste of money on any motorcycle part I've ever done. I kind of bought into the 390 Adventure being too vibey or too much vibration. So I got the bright idea to throw money at it. And a lot of people had said, get yourself some X-Trig bar clamps, which have these little polymer pieces in there that theoretically absorb enough of the vibration to be noticed. And they were $199. And my experience was, I'm sure they technically lower the vibration, but it's absolutely, in my opinion, not noticeable in the least. I had them on for a very long time. I noticed no difference. So me thinking that it's a placebo and I'm just not getting it, or maybe I should have felt something, but I didn't think I took them off one afternoon. I put back on my standard bar mounts. I couldn't notice a difference. So I put them up on Facebook Marketplace and said they don't work well enough for me. Some guy paid me about $70. So it was a $130 lesson to find out. Just deal with the vibration and don't throw any more money at it. All right, what's going on in our chat? Oh, Patrick's just mentioning there is very good riding between where I am in Newport, Tennessee, and where he is near Asheville, and I can't agree more. I've ridden with Patrick twice, I think, in the woods, and both times just wow, fun. Just great places, state parks, I think. Nice places in between us, and not too far from, as I mentioned earlier, pretty good lunch. Okay, a comment on my best Yamaha FZ made. This was when I sold my 2001 with carburetors FZ1 and purchased a 2007 with fuel injection. Nothing really bad happened to my carbs, but they were slightly out of sync. So during low acceleration, I was getting not a backfire, but a definite misfire and a loss. And when I took it over to the shop that I've gone to for a couple of different things, they said, that happens. You've got like 30,000 miles, right? And I'm like, yeah, I've got 35,000 miles. And they said, you just need to balance the carbs, but they don't do it. They gave me the name of 3 other shops that work on sport bikes. None of them had anyone who would balance those carbs locally. So then I was like, this is going to become a problem. Do I want to go look for somebody that I have to drive hours to get maintenance work done, or just want to sell the bike and buy something with fuel injection? So I sold my 2001 and I bought a 2007 because it had fuel injection. I mean, joke's on me though. The bike was better. I absolutely prefer the Gen 1 if the carbs are working perfectly to the Gen 2 with EFI, but it was just simpler. I couldn't find anyone to do the work, and I was too lazy to start looking far afield for someone to do the work. Oh, Dan M. Bricks. Hello, buddy. That's my nephew. ADV Zach, I have decided after spending lots of money on extra Farkles, the upgrades are not worth the money anymore. I'll ride the bike stock, and if that's not good enough, I'll buy a better bike next time. Zach, that is the best philosophy any biker can have. I dump time and money into Farkles. Most of us that I know anyway do the same thing. But then you go on Facebook Marketplace and some dude's selling a bike with 20,000 miles. They haven't even put handguards on it. They haven't changed a darn thing, and they had 20,000 miles of absolute entertainment. And I go, that is a man who is smarter than me. Buy the bike you want, get on it and ride it and have fun. Patrick says that there is so much more to see and ride. Roger knows the area better than he does. Can't wait for all of us to ride together. Well, that's if we invite you, Patrick. Okay. Motor Ramsling, no. We'll just call him Patrick. Patrick says, Frank, you need to convince Roger to go to South Dakota this year. Roger, you would absolutely, positively be welcome. I believe right now, 40% of the people coming are going to be on Honda DCT bikes. So you would have your own clique, your own group, all of you DCT guys laughing at the rest of us shifting. Yeah, Roger makes an excellent point. If you're over 200 pounds, you do need one Farkle, and that is suspension. Excuse me. And I certainly agree with that, especially if you're buying a Japanese bike. They're not, they're basically not sprung for the full American. We're beefy people here in North America, and we need a little more. And Roger says that the 40% of DCT people at TimFest are the 40% of the smart folks. I'll try to be polite and not point out that they're all scooter owners. All right. Hey, Road Reality commented on my Rattler video with the ever famous North Carolina YouTuber Mitchell's father. Yes, laugh out loud, busy with his swimming pool, give him hell. That is one of the excuses I think Patrick has used for riding with people. Has he ever used that one with you, Roger? You know, he's got the swimming pool today. He's got to do something with that. And we have a comment from Zach on a conversation video, which is things I stole directly off of the Moto Ramblings YouTube channel. I like to steal from him occasionally. If BMW releases their 450 GS as shown this year, I would consider strongly looking at it as my next possible bike, but only if it has cruise control. Zach, I have to imagine it would have cruise control. These days, most of them do, but the 310 didn't. So I guess there's a small chance because the 450 is going to be manufactured by the same kind folks who made the 450. Zach asks if TimFest is really going to have 40% Hondas. And yeah, last time I looked, it is. Bunch of Gold Wings. Obviously, David won't be on a Gold Wing, so that's going to skew the number down slightly. But John is bringing his NCX, which is also a DCT. So there's a lot of Hondas, which makes sense. I think they're still the number 2 brand in the United States after Harley. And Patrick said, yes, there would be a scooter comment. I'm sorry, Patrick. Anytime I see DCT, my brain immediately goes to scooter. I remember being 16 years old and a girl at my school had one of those little bitty Honda scooters that kind of looked like a knockoff of a Italian scooter. And so whenever I think Honda and no shifting, I think scooter. Yes, Patrick points out that while he is a Honda Goldwing rider, he actually shifts. All right, a comment on one of my posts referring to the deal on the Rhino Walk bags. I use my comment section to say this, that, or the other thing, but I do very often put up deals for gear that I actually use. They are affiliate links, so it's not like I'm being incredibly generous, but I do like to point out to people when you can get a great deal on a piece of equipment that I know is a great piece of equipment. Unskilled labor, I have the Rhino Walk tail bag. It's been great, especially for the price. I'm going to say that most Rhino Walk gear appears to be a very good deal. with the exception of the panniers. I haven't looked at them lately, but when I did look at them last, they were like $50 more than the Hurricane by Nelson Rig, which they look like a comparable product. So a $50 premium to me seemed unusual for Rhino Walk. Patrick asks, are you saying the ATs are girls' bikes? No, Patrick, I'm saying they're scooters. They are not gendered. They're not for anybody but people who want a scooter. And as we know, there are quite a few men in our friend group that they wanted a scooter. Motorcycling's not for everyone. Okay, this was an incredibly popular part when the 390 Adventure came out, and that is the 390 Power Parts bench seat. I did a review on it, got a lot of people who looked at it. Hammerhead812 says, in my humble opinion, a horrible seat. I felt like I was sitting on a 2x4. I tried several seats and always come back to the stock. Haven't tried the Corbin, but also don't have $600 to spend. Added an Airhawk cushion, best option so far. I'm old and literally have no ass, so more, more cushion, better, as you well know. And I can't argue with anything he said there. The bench seat, while not, I didn't find it to be as bad as a 2x4 for me. It's certainly not as comfortable as the stock seat. It's not as comfortable as the ergo seat that KTM sells as well. Dan and M or DNM Brick says a scooter seems like something people in a cartoon would ride. You know, buddy, people ride them everywhere. I don't know why. I enjoy shifting. I certainly understand when I'm stuck in traffic, the wistful feeling, oh God, if I had an automatic right now, it wouldn't be so bad because stop and go traffic just means you're holding onto that clutch all day. But unless I'm stuck in traffic, I just haven't wanted a scooter. Patrick is saying that the DR650 is a 2x6, the seat. Honestly, I think any dual sport, they're looking at them and they're going, yeah, you're supposed to be standing up. And they just like put a board there, they wrap some vinyl on it, and they ship it out. Another comment on the Rattler with Moto Ramblings. This is from Bill Waterhouse. I had a chance to meet him recently. Really awesome guy. Man, awesome, Frank. A place to visit for sure. You know, down my way, we wear out our tires flat in the middle, get the half life out of them, as there are zero corners or elevation here. Flat roads until you hit a stop sign, slight turn, and flat until you hit another stop sign. Bill lives in the low country of South Carolina, and wow, it's flat. There's so many beautiful things to see. I go there once a year when going to the Palmetto ADV Fest, and I love riding around there. Actually rode with Bill this year into the city, but he's not wrong. It's flat. You're on the ocean and it's almost as flat as Florida. But at least there are some curves to the road. In Florida, everything is a grid. In South Carolina, only 90% of it's a grid. D&M Brick says, if I ever ride, I want a Harley, but I'll probably die since I'm a klutz. I don't know that there's any Harley. Oh, that's wrong, Dan. You could absolutely get a Sportster. And Zach can tell you about the Sportster. He used to have one, but it is the beginner Harley Davidson. They don't even cost a lot of money. Very good beginner bike. Another comment on the Rattler from our buddy John, another Tim Fest attendee. John was formerly a motorcycle rider, but will be a scooter rider from New York to South Dakota this year. So when John is stuck in traffic, he's going to be loving it. Hey, Frank, you are right. It's a great riding country. Unfortunately, when I lived there, I did not have a bike. Oh, that's terrible, John. I can't even imagine living in Tennessee or North Carolina without a motorcycle because it's simply stunning there. And to be able to just relax and ride through those woods on a bike is amazing. But even if you had a bike, it does seem that 50% of the people are antisocial, probably just the ones that come from Massachusetts. But there are very antisocial people in North Carolina. Oh, here we go. This is an interesting comment. It's on a very old video. It's my Tusk pannier rack install on my 390 Adventure. This was my first Tusk product that was metal. And what I found was it's not remotely shaped properly. You have to do a lot of bending and a lot of pulling. And the other thing I learned, and this is from Mr. McStiggins, I'm glad I saw this video before I took a wrench to my bike. I'm always pro impact driver with everything. When they assemble the 390 Adventures in India, I do not know what Loctite they use. It is a beige color, but it holds as tough as red. So when you try to get them out, many folks on the 390 message board have gone ahead and snapped their bolts when putting on Farkles. Fortunately, I had read posts by 2 or 3 guys who had snapped bolts, so I knew to get out the heat and warm them up, because when you warm up the strong Loctite, it generally gives. But yeah, guys were taking an impact or a drill and going, I'll get that out of there, and it just sheared the bolt right off. If there's one criticism I can levy and be 100% sure I'm right about, the metal for the bolts and the metal for the threads on the 390 Adventure are both delicate. You can do bad things if you're not very careful with that bike. Patrick's helping Dan understand a little bit about motorcycles, which is great. All right. From Verbal Widget, Dave, friend of the channel, great guy, also a TimFest attendee. You should get a Gen 2 V-Strom 650 for blasting around on, Frank. $3,000 or $4,000, dirt or street, local or across the country. Never needs maintenance, runs forever. Missed the one I had last year, but the Africa Twin is filling the void for him. Everything you said there, Dave, is absolutely correct. However, helping Patrick lift copper up on a downward slope reinforced my belief that I do not want to lift a 500-pound bike on a slope ever. Now, I could ride carefully and perhaps not drop the bike, but when I was with Patrick and he dropped that bike, honestly, I don't think he could have avoided it. And I couldn't have avoided it either. Sometimes the bike unexpectedly goes down by something you missed, terrain you can't avoid, or simply something falling away under your tire. Patrick was riding slowly, carefully, responsibly, and he still put that big V-Strom down. And if you've seen the video, and you did because you commented on it, well, I hope you did. It was not fun to lift that bike and hold that bike. It was not fun to push that bike to where it could be ridden. So I am not getting a 500-pound bike as good as they are. Again, on the Rattler, from Greg at the Bearded Grump. Greg, appreciate you watching. I've had my time on twisty roads on sport bikes, and it was fun when I was much younger. And I've always been an off-road guy. Don't get me wrong, I would much rather ride mountain roads versus flat pavement, and I do enjoy twisty roads when I can break them up with some gravel. And Greg is a phenomenal rider off-road. Greg is the first person I saw take a 515-pound plus 40 pounds of gear V-Strom 1000 and treat it like a dirt bike. And he has, over the years in conversations, mentioned he hates the road. So I think in this video I commented, Greg, you should be up here and enjoy all these curves. But he makes an excellent point. Ride what you enjoy. I am very fortunate that I enjoy riding both the twisties and the dirt. But I know that's not for everybody. People have their preference. And Greg is so talented and has so much experience off-road that he seems to truly enjoy it, even if it would be something that would scare, mere mortal men. So can't blame Greg at all for that. All right, we're going to go with our last comment here. This is on the Rattler, and it's that bot Moto Ramblings again. We didn't even ride the best parts of the road. So Roger, what Patrick is telling me Well, number one, experience has taught me that I can ride an hour to where I'm supposed to ride off road with Patrick, and he shows up on a Goldwing. Then, if I do go riding with him off road, he won't even show me the good stuff. Oh, thanks a lot, Patrick. I thought you were showing me the good stuff. If you were here in New York, I wouldn't take you to the okay ride. I would take you to the great ride. All right, guys. I very much appreciate everyone who stopped by. The point of these is literally to see you guys in chat and talk. I do like to do the comments. I like people to get an idea of what I think of the comments. And I appreciate it when anyone shows up. I truly do. All right, Roger, I very much would like to talk to you about TimFest. Maybe when I'm down there riding with Mr. Antisocial, we can get together and have lunch and chat. ADV Zach, I appreciate Zach and Patrick giving Dan some advice about motorcycles. Not that motorcycles are safe, but it's good to get some advice. All right, guys. Everybody, I appreciate you showing